Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तं वन्दे गुरुपरम्परम्। ॐ गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुविष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुसाक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वार्दे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। कार्पण्यदोषोपहाता स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वं धर्मसम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्य निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमं त्वं प्रपन्नम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरवीर्मायिधि वेदस्य मा अनिष्टः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेनाधीतेना अहोरात्रं सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मम अवतु तद्वक्तारम् अवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमक्षभिर्यजत्रः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवाग्वं सस्तनूभिः वशेमा देवहितं यदाहुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति न तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति न बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ अहं वृक्षशरीरिवा कीर्तिपृष्ठं गिरिरिवा ऊर्ध्वा पवित्रो वाजिनीवा स्वविरक्तमास्मि द्रविणग्वं सवर्चसं सुमेधा अमृतोक्षितः इति त्रिशङ्कुर्वेदानुवाचनम्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
Narayan, Narayan, everyone. Thank you for the Seva Sanchita. It was really nicely done. And I'll just remind all of us that now we need to move to the next stage of by hearting these shlokas. Okay. So next time I want us to give it a shot without looking at the paper. Okay. Practice it, but important that we now let go of the paper. We may make some mistake. So keep the paper in your hand, but try and, close your eyes, do it with your own memory. And where you get stuck, you can see the paper. But that's how we really need to get to that level now, because if we are in the last shutdown. And we can't complete Gita without knowing even the invocation shlokas, right? That would be not nice for us, right? It's not a mehnat we can do for ourselves. Okay. So now we're doing chapter 13, right? Kshetra Kshetragya Vibhagyo, wherein at this stage in the second part of the chapter, Bhagwanji is telling us about the Nirgun Nirakar aspect of the Lord. Nirgun Nirakar aspect is it's actually almost impossible for us to comprehend or to even talk about it. Because to even talk about it, we take the help of language, and that itself is limited, right? So the best we can do is to give similes, is to talk about it through reference, right? we can never really express fully what Akshar Brahma is, and we can never comprehend it. The only way to comprehend Akshar Brahma is to become it. Keep that in mind as we read through what is being trying to express. Some Bhagwanji is trying to tell us through whatever we know as to like what he really is. Okay. So he's told us that that Akshar Brahma has no cause, right? He's without cause. He's without any origin. There is no beginning. There is no end to Akshar Brahma. He is not subject to any proof. He's not subject to any test, right? He is everywhere. There is ubiquity of the self, right? He's omnipresent, omniscient, and uh, omnipresence, as in like he is subtler than the subtlest thing we can imagine. So he pervades all. He pervades our thoughts. He pervades our feelings. He pervades every part of the body. He pervades every part of the physical, the astral, the causal bodies, right? He knows us better than we know ourselves, because there are deep recesses of ourselves that we are not always aware of, right? We are unaware of why we behave in certain ways, in certain things, why we get triggered in certain situations. We act unconsciously when we react to VVGP around us. So we don't have control over ourselves as much as we think we have. We have zero control over our internal bodily processes, even, right? We have no control over the thoughts that come to us. So we have very, very little control actually, even over our own selves, who we consider ours, correct? But Bhagwanji pervades all of these things, and he knows us. He knows what is causing us to behave in a certain manner. He knows why we react in certain ways. He knows what are our triggers. He knows what are our knots inside of us that even we are not aware of. Which is why every time we face an issue, it is important for us to remember him for once. Remember him, and then we can go ahead and do what we need to. No?
So just yeah, let's go.
So he shines through all the senses, even though he has no sense. He does not need any of those five senses, but he acts through everyone and he receives through everyone without being affected by anything. So now we'll do Shloka 17, right? So we'll finish at Shloka 16. That's it. He's all pervasive. He is the one who creates, who sustains, and who destroys. So through Akshar Brahma, even though he is Gunatit, but he adopts the three gunas to become the Brahma, to become the Vishnu, to become the Rudra in the multitude of the worlds that he has created. And he's constantly creating and dissolving. So he's gunatit, but he takes on those gunas as and when it is required in a particular situation, right? That's how he takes avatar on the earth as well for his own devotees to show us what we need to do or the path we need to walk. Um, Vijay, will you read with us?
Connection. The Lord now tells that self is never hidden from view, being self effulgent. So much so that whatever luminous objects are seen in the world derive their luminosity from his effulgence, he says.
So the self is never hidden from the view, never hidden, right? And that is why it is the greatest open secret, chapter 9. Raj Vidya, Raj Guhya Yog. The greatest open secret. He is there in plain view. He hides in plain view. And he hides in plain view how? That he has made himself ubiquitous. It is our ability or inability to perceive him. We block ourselves from him through our own actions. Right? Jyotishamapi tajyotihi.
Jyotishamapi tajyosati
Tajyotihi.
tajyotihi
Tamasa paramuchyate.
tamasa paramuchyate
Jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam.
jnanam jneyam jnanagamyam
Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam.
vidhi sarvasya vrishtitam. The self is the light of all lights and is described as being beyond all darkness, existing as the knowledge, the object of the knowledge, and being attainable by knowledge. The self dwells in the hearts of all. The effulgent self, all luminous objects of the world, the sun, moon, light, lightning, fire, are lighted by the effulgence of the self. No darkness can ever approach him. The clouds rise by the heat of the sun and obstruct the light from reaching the world. People then say mistakenly that clouds have covered the sun. Similarly, no darkness can cover the effulgent self.
So let's first talk about the first half of the shloka, right? So coming back to what Tuna was sharing in the summary, right? That he pervades all. This lightness that is being referred to is everywhere. The analogy to think of is space. Space is everywhere. Where I'm sitting, there is space all around me. As soon as I move, space is exactly where it was. I myself I'm filled with space. In every single part of my body, every single cell of my body, there is space. Space exists everywhere. We don't often recognize it. We don't pay any attention to it. Right? Similarly, fish and water. Water is there everywhere for the fish. But the fish is unaware that it's in water. But water is in every single cell of that fish's body. Or the third example that we've always shared is a baby fetus in a mother. The mother is all around the baby fetus. It's not separate from the body. But the baby fetus cannot perceive it. Right? So that we had this entire analogy story once, right? Of two baby fetuses, twins, and their conversation about where is mother? Why doesn't mother come to help us if I'm giving a call? And the other, and this is our life. This is the purpose of our life. We'll just live here and we'll die. There's no such thing as mother. And then the second fetus basically says, no, this is just a part of the journey. When we finish this journey, we will get to meet mother. And when they're born, that's exactly what happens. They get to meet mother. Same thing with us. We'll get to meet mother. Right? So keeping that in mind, now let's connect this to the shloka. Light is everywhere. So where does darkness arise from? Darkness arises from our minds. Every situation we know is a blessing or a lesson. When that VVGP comes to us, it is our ego and our mind that choose to make it negative. It is our attachments and our expectations that want to control. Control ourselves, control the situation, control the people around us.
Or control a particular outcome.
Or control towards an outcome. And that's what creates the negativity. That is what is blocking the light. This light that already pervades through all of us. And that is our natural being. Right? So every time you feel the negativity, every time you say something negative, that's darkness. And the way for us to focus on the light is those means of perceptions, are the principles that we are reading. If you are aligned with that, you will experience the light. You will start knowing that we are the God, we are the self-realization, so we are the capital S self inside of us.
But evil do exist, right? Like there is good, bad. It's always there, right? So how do we differentiate? Negativity is from innocence that I can understand, but in general, there are two sides of the coin, as we say. There is some goodness is also there. There is some evil side is also there for things. So how can we say that is not existing, right? There are dictators and stuff they who had been killing people all the time. So how can we say that like the other side is not existing?
So, so there are two parts. There are two parts I'd like to share, right? First is this journey and this conversation is for us and our internal experience, right? It's for the way we perceive things, right? It is not a way for us to fully try and understand what people are. It's a way for us to understand who we are as individuals, right? So this journey is a very personal journey. It's not a intellectual mapping of what's happening around in the world. That's not what we read for, and that's not what we can decipher. The second part, what you have to reflect upon, is hate is not the absence, sorry, hate is not the opposite of love. Hate is the absence of love, right? And
Right.
if you reflect upon this, and if you read people's stories and their backstory, you will realize why childhood becomes a very important part of a human experience, right? And that's exactly why Gandhiji said the greatest weapon in the world is love. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong, not the weak. Because to forgive, you have to love, right? So these are principles you need to work on for your own self rather than projected on others. And by no means do we use it to judge everybody else, but it's for us to work on elevating our better nature and our higher nature.
And see, another thing is darkness is there, right? Darkness is there, but darkness is perceived because of absence of light. There was once a cave, and there was a conversation going on between cave and sun, right? The sun said, "Oh, the world is so bright, it is so beautiful." And the cave said, "Yeah, wherever you live, it is all beautiful and bright. But come where I live, and you will see how dark and dingy this place is." So they kept talking like that, and cave was always crying about it. So the sun said, "Okay, I will come and check out where you live." And he came to where the cave lived, and he asked, "Where is darkness?" Right? So there is no darkness the moment the sun comes, wherever there is light. So darkness does not have an independent existence. Darkness exists where there is absence of light. And the moment you switch on light in a dark room, the darkness instantly disappears. Right? Now, this world is created out of duality. Because if there is unity, then there is nothing else but him and him alone. There is only one unity. For him to create something separate from him, for him to create this Maya, the duality was created. This is the very basis of Maya, the very basis of this creation. So everything that exists in duality, right? So which is why you have two sides of the coin. And they enable each other to exist. They create this with each other. You appreciate the heat because of the cold, and you appreciate coolness because of the heat. If you have only one without the other, you cannot appreciate that thing beyond a point. Because everything has a marginal utility that goes down to zero. Right? And that's when the opposite comes into play to relieve you of that monotony. Right? So you have to understand that we may not be able to fully grasp it at this stage, right? Given where our antakaran is, but know that everything exists in duality. Okay, it and its opposite exist and they exist together. One cannot exist without the other, and together they work to create the beauty of this world. Okay. Now, what happens is that the same thing can have a divine, like Bhagwanji created created everything from a divine perspective. Everything has a place in the world. Everything has a reason to exist. And then then when we create limitations around it, we create more we superimpose demonical qualities on top of something that can potentially be divine through our own limitations. For example, love is um, love is an attractive force, right? Love is the attractive force, and love is the force through which Bhagwanji pulls us to himself. Correct? He pulls us to himself through love, divine love. So it is at a more gross level, love as an attractive force is expressed in a lot of different ways in this world. For example, gravity is a force of attraction, right? In the gross form, gravity is a form of love. It is a form of attraction. It's a force of attraction, right? And you know that when there is a full gravity, what does science say? That everything gets pulled into each other, into a black hole, into unity. Okay? So gravity is an expression of love. Similarly, when you bring it down, attachment is an expression of love in a very limited form. But attachment is what will create suffering. Whereas love creates freedom. Attachment creates boundaries, and love frees all, right? So if we can take attachment to a higher plane, it becomes love. We bring it down, it creates attachment. And attachment will then cause problems. So, and then when we look at a dictator and say, oh, they are doing all of these things, right? Why do they exist in my consciousness today? Why do I see them? Why do they affect me? Why are they impinging upon my consciousness? They are impinging upon my consciousness because he is just a reflection of what I have inside of me.
Or what I pay attention to.
Yeah, because he's inside of me. That dictator exists inside of me. Now, I may say, I don't do all of those gross things that he's doing. Yes, because it's like, imagine yourself as that projector, no? That little tiny thing inside of you that gets projected out there and magnified into a large image. That is what you see in this world. So you see that dictator, he's doing all of those things. You're doing exactly the same thing in some microcosmic way inside of yourself, which you need to reflect upon, find out, work on it, and cleanse it out. We all live in this world where all these different things that we are seeing happen because we all have played a part in it. We all have those aspects, which is what we need to cleanse out. And when we have cleansed that piece out, then when we will be able to give love even to that dictator, because we will have compassion as to where he's coming from and what is he doing and why is he doing it from a higher level of consciousness. But for now, where we are, what we need to understand is that everything exists in duality. They all are meant to serve a very good purpose, a divine purpose, right? For example, to give you some sense, right? Why did Ravan come in this world? Why did Hiranyakashyap come in this world? He came here to help Bhagwanji do a Leela. Right? So Bhagwanji created Leela where he shows a certain bad aspect and a certain good aspect for us to learn from. This is a very gross and a very limited way of explaining. But basically what I'm saying is that there is a reason for everything to exist in this world, which we may today not be able to understand. But what we need to definitely, it's like asking, why did Bhagwanji create Maya? Right? I can't explain why Bhagwanji created Maya. Or like, why is it created the way it is? What I can definitely explain is that Maya was created as a source for us to do our own uddhar. It is created as a tool for us to use that tool to walk back towards him. And that is what we need to focus on. And once we become him, we will be able to understand all the things, all unanswered questions. So there are questions we can answer at a certain level of consciousness. As that consciousness keeps growing and going higher, we will be able to answer more and more questions. But at any point of time, until we merge with him, until we are gunatit as him, as long as we are dictated by the gunas, our understanding will always be limited. we will never understand what is limitlessness, because within gunas there is no concept of limitlessness. Gunas immediately create Maya, which immediately becomes limited in nature. Make sense?
Wonderful explanation, both of you. Thank you. In the second line of the shloka, the Lord says self is both knowledge as well as the object of knowledge. It can be attained by means of perception enumerated in shloka 7 to 11. Pursued with a firm determination, unshakable confidence, and unflinching faith, those means of perception can lead to attainment of perception of the self, as described in shloka 12 to 17. In the self, in the self is a triad of knowledge, object of knowledge, and attainment of knowledge, and he exists in inner beings of all.
I think this is something that we've said again and again, right? So it's self-explanatory and very well ties everything up that we've done so far, the first 17 shlokas.
Which is why the phrase of attaining moksha is called self-realization. Because none of the knowledge that we need to acquire is external of us.
Absolutely.
It is all within us. That's why it's, oh, you realize it now. We are holding on to wrong external sansaric knowledge, and we think of that to be true, right? But what Gita keeps saying is your real knowledge is inside of you. You have to realize it, which is why nobody else can walk you through that journey. You have to have the conviction, the focus, the mind, and the belief that I want to attain moksha in this life. Work towards it and walk your own journey to realize it. And the only way to realize it is by holding on to these principles, so that when darkness tries to pervade, and it will come in many, many forms, in many gross forms, you have to know which side you are. Your real you is.
Correct. So to go back to that first paragraph, right? The light is inside all of us, like Abhinav said. Light is inside us. We have to realize it. And what are the clouds? Clouds are the dust, the mal that we have accumulated over the years that cover our antakaran. That is why we need to cleanse our antakaran for the inner light to shine forth. We don't have to go out to find God. We don't have to go out to find any happiness. It's all inside of us. It's always a journey within. All questions are answered within. All answers are inside of us. Bhageshri, you want to read?
Yes. Winding up this discussion, the Lord now describes the result of perception of the self.
Iti kshetram tatha jnanam
Iti kshetram tatha jnanam
Nyeyam choktam samasataha
niyam choktam samasataha
madbhakta etadvijnaya
madbhakta etadvitnaya
madbhavayopadyate madbhavayopadyate.
madbhavayopapadyate.
Very nice. So this is a very, very important shloka. Okay. Here we are going to understand why are we learning about Kshetra and Kshetragya. Very, very important shloka. Let's read.
Thus has been stated briefly the field, the knowledge, and the knowable. Realizing this, my devotee is absorbed in my being. The field, knowledge, the knowable, and the result of perception. The field has been explained in shlokas 5 and 6. Knowledge has been described in shlokas 7 to 11. and the knowable in shlokas 12 to 17. Realizing the self as omniscient, total consciousness and pervasive, the real devotee surrenders all thoughts to him. The devotee's mind is always full of his thoughts, and vicious thoughts dare not go near him. The devotee offers to the Lord his intense love, faith, conviction, self surrender, and desirelessness. Whatever is perceived through the senses is considered by the devotee to be the self in different forms. Such a devotee takes refuge in the Lord, experiences the Lord everywhere, and attains to the Lord.
So what is being described here in this first para is bhakti. The sole purpose of Gyan is bhakti. Gyan without bhakti leads to a lot of ego. Okay? The sole purpose of Gyan is bhakti, and bhakti is nothing but love. So love is the greatest weapon, as Abhinav said again, in this world. It is the greatest force in this world. At a physical level, it is the force of attraction that creates unity, that creates that black hole. When gravity is strong enough, everything collapses into a single thing, which we don't understand, and we call it the black hole. So when we are looking for, when we say that, oh, what is my ultimate goal? My ultimate goal is self-realization. We can also say my ultimate goal is bhakti. But bhakti with gyan, they always go together. You cannot have one without the other. Which is why when we were doing the bhakti shatak, right, the second shatak, as you remember, it had got nothing to do with doing puja. It had got nothing to do with meditation, nothing to do with bhajan singing. Bhakti shatak was all about understanding the beloved. It was all about understanding where to find him, how to find him, how to connect to him, what does he do, what are his qualities, how do I see him in Sagun Sakar Roop and Sagun Nirakar Roop. Right? That's what we focused on in Bhakti. So Bhakti, everything was about Gyan, understanding. And Gyan must lead to Bhakti. Gyan without Bhakti leads to ego and creates a downfall. Gyan without the ras of bhakti is absolutely niras. It has no beauty in it. And so it requires the ras of bhakti to make it beautiful. To make it, and then bhakti without gyan is nothing but emotionalism. Bhakti without gyan is superstition. Bhakti without gyan is ritualist. It's just ritualism. It leads you nowhere. That also causes your downfall. So every ritual that we do in bhakti must be infused with gyan of the spirit. And that's when the ritual becomes spiritual. Gyan and bhakti must always, always, always go together. That is the key thing for us to take away. Can't have one without the other.
Okay, I think let's finish reading. Let's finish reading.
A study of the means of perception sometimes appears to be quite disheartening. Human life appears to be quite inadequate to attain him and is wrongly presumed that in the effort, perhaps social status, standard of living, and valuables, etc., will have to be renounced. But a little reflection would reveal that there is no need to change the style of clothes nor the social status, nor has one to give up one's family or valuables. The Lord has already declared that He exists in everyone's being as everyone's self. So, all the means of perception outlined in the foregoing shlokas are basic constituents of the self of human beings, and they do not have to be imbibed from outside. Difficulties would arise only if they were considered to be some external elements to be cultivated with toilsome efforts. Only a, only a resolute decision will have to be taken to entertain a burning desire for self realization and entreat the Lord with a sense of total self surrender to extend his helping hand. On doing so, the infinite powers of the Lord come into play to remove all obstructions in the path of self realization. While the external setup remains unaltered, the change in the internal vision leads to attainment of perception and to realization of the self easily with the grace of the Lord.
So now let's read this shloka backwards. Okay. What is the goal? The goal is the last line. External setup remains unaltered, which means the VVGP outside is what it is. The change has to be in our internal bhav on how we perceive that VVGP to achieve realization. That's the goal for all of us karma yogis, right? How do we reach this goal? Underline the line that starts, only a resolute decision will have to be taken to entertain a burning desire for self-realization. Underline that line because this is our choice. That burning desire of moksha is our choice. If we don't choose, then we're not going to get to that goal. That choice has to be made. Coming to Gita every Sunday, listening to satsang, coming for bhajans, doing the rituals, that is not the choice. The choice has to be focused towards this very end goal of the external circumstances being whatever they are, but my internal state being divine. Correct? Now let's go further up. But a little reflection would reveal that there is no need to change style of clothes or social status, etc. So if you're making a choice and a burning desire to attain self-realization, there is nothing in that you feel you need to give up. You are born in exactly the perfect circumstance for you to attain this particular goal. You are born in exactly the same with the type of body you need, with the circumstances, with the family members, with the job, with the social. It's exactly designed for your quickest way to reach the goal.
Yeah, which means that you don't have to
So-
alter your external VVGP in any magical way for you to achieve Bhagwan Ji. ये बोलना कि अरे look at them, वो लोग how easy it is for them to attain Bhagwan Ji. Look at how many things they can do. उनकी family देखो, they can easily go for bhajans. I don't have time to go for bhajans because my responsibilities are this. Having all those excuses, or you don't have to have those excuses. Because that guy has that particular circumstance which allows him to do ABC, is because that is exactly what he needs for his self-realization. You don't need it. You need something else. There is another knot inside of you that you need to open up. Hence, your specific circumstances are perfectly aligned for you to open your specific knots. Your knots are different from your husband's knots, from your spouse's knots, from your child's knots. So all of us will have our own unique VVGPs, which will enable us to open our specific knots and move forward on our journeys.
Yeah. So goal is clear. The choice has to be made. A conscious choice, which most of us don't make, to be honest. That conscious choice is where magic happens. Then accepting that everything you are and what you're experiencing is exactly what you need to experience. And now the fourth part, come back to the previous paragraph. Whatever is perceived through the senses is considered by the devotee to be the self in different forms. This, let's go back to Shloka 7 of this, Shloka 7 of the same chapter. Okay, keep both those pages open. Shloka 7. This is the start of the means of perception. Right? We've talked a fair bit about love in this class, right? Love is not an absolute, it's not an absolute thing. I asked 6 of you in this class right now, How do you experience love? Your answers will be different. How do you express love to your family? Your answers will be different. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the answers would actually be very gross. My way of expressing love is making sure they are disciplined, making sure my children eat certain things. My way of expressing love is something like, I don't know, but it will be different for each one. Come back to Shloka 7. Read, there are how many? I think there are 9 qualities that have been highlighted, right? Humility, unpretentiousness, non-injury, which is in speech and thought, how we think and express ourselves, forgiveness, restitude, which is rectitude, which is basically doing the right thing based on your dharma, based on your duty, worshipping the preceptor. Now, this connects directly to the line we just read. Whatever is perceived through the senses is considered by the devotee to be the self in different forms. Can we perceive everything we experience as him? Can we see God in our mom and our dad? Forget that. Can we see God in the cranky taxi driver in Singapore? Right? Who is not very helpful sometimes. Purity of body, mind, steadiness, self-control. This, if we practice, no person who comes in touch with us will not feel loved. Right? So that's how the shloka connects everything. Practice the means of perception. Once you do it, you will not have a single complaint about your VVGP. That will happen because you've made a choice to achieve self-realization, and that will be the natural result of your actions. Yeah.
And when we do, yeah.
Vijay, you have a question?
No, I had just the observation, right? The previous question is answering beautifully. He created the question, he solved. This thing. It is all in you. You don't worry about others. You focus on what you are. So if you see something, you'll have to do something. That's the way it has been grown up, right? Like,
Yeah.
so thinking that, like, okay, if not for the world, try to do something about what you are seeing. So that's the way you are growing up. And yeah, the answer is very clear, right? Like you focus on yourself, put your head down, do what you will have to do. Period. That's what you are meant to do for. That's he creates the question and immediately he's answering that also. Very nice of you. Thank you.
See, look, we are Arjun. So the questions we have are very relevant to the journey because that's exactly what Arjun's probably asking, and Bhagwanji can perceive it and he's answering it for us. That's why this journey is so beautiful, because you read it the 5th time also, you'll have a question which would be very different. But the answer would be there. You'll be like, I now understand why he's saying this. Bhageshri.
So in the first paragraph, so I have 2 questions. In the first paragraph, it's written that, the real devotee surrenders all thoughts to him. What exactly does that mean? And second is where you said that we have to make a conscious choice for self-realization. This might sound funny, but like if I make a conscious choice of self-realization, does this mean that I'll get all the lessons and sufferings in this lifetime only to realize that?
So answering your second question first, absolutely. Whatever you have to experience in your prarabdha, all the suffering that you have to go through will get fast forwarded for you to experience here. But the second caveat is there. Because you have this book, you will not go through suffering.
The prarabdha will come.
Prarabdha will come, but you will not go through suffering.
Again, now that does not mean that every single prarabdha you have to go through, right? You have to understand that how Karma Yoga works is, suppose I have a prarabdha because I have, say, hit somebody. ठीक है, चांटा लगा दिया. एक बार चांटा लगाया, दूसरी बार चांटा लगाया, 10 times चांटे लगाए मैंने at some point of time. ठीक है. And now I have like these 100 चांटे का प्रारब्ध. ठीक है. अब 100 चांटों का प्रारब्ध तो आप समझ लो क्रॉस 10 टाइम्स मेरे पास आने वाला है, ठीक है, फॉर मी टू फुल्ली एक्सटिंग्विश दैट प्रारब्ध इफ आई गो थ्रू द नॉर्मल कर्मयोग, ठीक है. So I have to experience my 100 chatas I've given to the world. It will come back 10 times to me for me to fully experience it and extinguish that prarabdha. All right. And of course, I can't take it in one go. If I have to take so many chatas in one go, I'll die only. So Bhagwan Ji is going to be like, okay, thoda karke extinguish karo, right? Over different destinies, right? Now, when you walk the path of self-realization consciously, you will understand what happened or why did you do that chanta in the first place. You get to the root cause. See, the time that you've given 100 chantas, there is a particular root cause that caused you to do that action. There is some root cause that caused you to do a certain action. And as long as you're unaware, you're doing that action again and again and again and again. As a part of your self-realization story, now you're going inwards. You're trying to understand why I do, what I do, how to control it, and you work with Bhagwanji to help surrender. You first try to, you shine a torch inside yourself. You try and find all those little issues that you need to deal with, and you give them all to Bhagwanji. And he will help you with his grace by consistent effort from your side to completely cleanse them out. Once you have taken that weed out with its jad, with its roots, you've taken that out, the entire set of prarabdh that you had accumulated, that 100, 100 chatas into 10 times that you're supposed to get, they will disappear. They will disappear as if you have put a match of light in a stack of hay. It will disappear as if, you've woken out of a dream. So all those 100 chatas you've given in your dream, they have no consequence for you when you're awake. Correct? So when you have tackled that knot inside of you, and you've tackled it well, you've completely cleansed it out of yourself, all the prarabdha that was associated with that knot has gone away. So now it isn't as if like those 100 chantas will come to you for this life. No, you've already tackled it. Now a second knot, maybe you had only 2 knots to solve for in this lifetime because you said, this is what I will do. Now you can tackle 10 knots in this lifetime. So that is what is meant by more prarabdha will come, in the sense of like all the knots that you have to take out will come one after the other. As you show your progress, today I have the capacity to only lift 2 kgs, only 2 kg level problems will come to me. Through constant practice, I have mastered this stage. The next stage will come. Then the next stage will come. Does that help answer your question? That yes, you will tackle a lot of your prarabdha, but it doesn't mean what you might want it, might think. Like Karma Yoga actually extinguishes years, like eons of prarabdha. Once you have a realization, once you unknot one knot, everything related to it is gone without you having to experience it. Because now you have tackled it at the level of Gyan. And the only way to tackle it at the level of Gyan is through bhakti, because you have to surrender it to Bhagwan Ji. To say कि यार मेरा गुस्से का वो है, मैं तो बहुत मेरे को गुस्सा आता है, मैं इरिटेट हो जाती हूँ, मैं और मैं कर लूंगी उसको, तो वो कभी भी नहीं टैकल होगा. ना मुझसे हुआ है, ना मुझसे कभी होगा. But if I understand that and I fully acknowledge Bhagwan Ji's omnipresence, his omniscience, and his all-powerful nature, and I give it to him with full surrender, that I don't have the Shakti to do this, but you have it, and I am surrendered to you. Whatever comes, I will always be grateful. Always be grateful. That gratefulness is so important as a feeling. When you say that I surrender my thoughts to you, when you say, that's your first question, right, Bhagishri? When I say I surrender my thoughts to you, what does it mean? It means that I have no thoughts of my own. Then I am not dividing things up into this is favorable, this is unfavorable. I have no such thought. I have only one thought, which is that I'm grateful for what is coming my way. And now I have to only figure out what is my duty in this VVGP. And I do it with a sense of gratefulness. Ki, thank you, Bhagwan Ji, you have given me this opportunity to do seva. This means surrendering all your thoughts to Bhagwan Ji. And when we act like that, he helps us clear our prarabdha out so quickly. Because अब आप अपने लिए और नए प्रारब्ध तो create ही नहीं कर रहे हो ना. Suppose you had a prarabdha of like, one chata came to you, right? And so now 10 chatas are coming to you to clear that prarabdha, right? When that action comes to you, if you have not devoted your thoughts to the Lord, you will get riled up and you will create more prarabdha for yourself in the process by reacting to that situation. But if you have delivered yourself to Bhagwanji, you've delivered your thoughts to Bhagwanji, then you're no longer reacting. You're only in space of constant gratefulness, happiness, sambhav, and a space from which you're only doing seva.
So coming to your first question, right, on the thoughts. I think all of us would have dabbled in some form of meditation. And the crux of every form of meditation is observe your thoughts. Never engage with it. And in every form of meditation that you may have tried, the thoughts never stop. The intensity with which they come might reduce, but they never ever stop. And what we are trying to always ascertain is that we are that observer, that witness, rather than the thought. But we are so quick to attach to the thought that comes and engage with it and think about it and almost have a projector in our mind where we can watch a movie for half an hour with our thoughts. And in that movie, you are the central character, the ego, and you are the hero. Right? In all of our thoughts, whether it's past, present, or future, you are the central character and you are the hero. So your thoughts are happening to make you feel good and to put others down. Or if it makes the other person feel good, then it puts you down. I'm not this, I'm not that, depending on your state of mind. But you are the central character. Bhagwanji is saying that you are the central character is your ego. You are not even that ego. The central character of this movie is Bhagwanji. And that is that witness that is observing the thoughts. The observer of the thoughts. It is your attachment and your ego. Sorry, it is your ego that creates an attachment to thoughts. But you're not your thoughts. When you become the witness and the observer, which is why people who do meditation, they reach a level of operation where in a stream of thoughts, they will catch on to the right one thought, which will produce the right one action, which will have the maximum result. So even though everything seems effortless, they're able to create incredible impact in the world. Because they have attached themselves, they know they are the witness. They don't have to. It's not as if they don't have the thoughts we have. They exactly do. But they've practiced through meditation not to attach to any thought.
Yeah.
Let's do one more.
Okay, Visalakshi, let's read.
Connection. In the 7th chapter, the Lord has described the two natures, lower and higher. Out of these, the lower nature was said to be insentient, and the higher was said to be the sentient. These two have been spoken of in this chapter as the field and the farmer, respectively. The divinity of the Lord compresses his being equipped with them together. Speaking of this, the Lord says,
Prakritim purusham chaiva
Prakritim purusham chaiva
vidyanadi ubhavapi
vidyanadi
ubhavapi
upavapi
vikaranshcha gunashchaiva
vikaranashku
vikaranshcha
vikarnash
vikaranshcha
vikarnashk
Vikaranshcha.
Vikaranshk.
Very nice.
Okay.
Gunashchaiva
Gunaschaiva.
Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan.
Vikri Prakriti Sampavam.
Very nice.
Both nature and spirit may be known as beingless, and known that modifications and the gunas are born of nature. The nature and spirit both without origination. In this shloka, the lower nature has been performed to as only the nature, Prakriti, and the upper nature as push, Purusha, Purusha or Jivatma, individualized self or spirit. Both these natures spring from the Lord, who is being the origination. This is why both have been described as being without origination. The modification of the field mentioned in shlokas 5 and 6 of this chapter. In fact, spring forth from the lower nature of the Lord. The three gunas exist in that nature and by their actions and interactions give rise to the modifications mentioned in shloka 5 and 6.
So I think this shloka you will understand a lot better when we do chapter 14 and we read chapter 14, understand the gunas and how they work. But yeah, I think what is one analogy that comes to my mind is that of the movie and the projector. Right? So imagine just because the movie has a start and an end time, that is not the reality. Right? The reality is there's a screen and there's a projector and there are many other things that happen in the background. Right? But we get so engaged in thinking the movie is real because it makes us feel real things. It makes us feel and experience things that we get absorbed into it. But we are neither the movie nor the projector.
In one of the classes, I had talked about 4 different levels of consciousness. Right? The lowest one being body consciousness, and the highest one, which is the Akshar Brahma consciousness. Okay. Here, what we are talking of are one level lower, Jivatma, which is what sometimes is also called Krishna consciousness. Right? We call it Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is one level lower than the Akshar Brahma absolute consciousness. And here, when we say Jivatma, Jivatma is the individualized self. You know? So there's an individualized self. That is already, if you identify with that self inside, you are at Krishna consciousness level because you are able to perceive Krishna inside every single BBGP. Right? So at that level, there is unity to that extent, but you have a sense of there is an individual purpose that you have. So I have an individual purpose that is distinct from Naina, that is distinct from Visa Lakshi, correct? But I am at that level where I can perceive Krishna in every one of you, right? And that's the only level of interaction. And then we have body consciousness, which is the lowest level of this thing, which is the insentient nature as well, right? So now what is being said is that both of them have their origination to Bhagwanji. And because both of them originate from him, know both of them to be limitless, to be beginningless, which means it is difficult for us to wrap our heads around them completely. So don't try and do that. It's a waste of time. You won't be able to. You won't understand fully at this level why we came here or why is this world created the way it is. Those are questions that will lead to no answer because all of this is literally beginningless compared to where we are. We won't be able to put our arms around it. We won't be able to wrap our intellect around it. Okay. So what this shloka is telling us, focus on everything that we know and understand to create a me story, going inwards. Those are the more productive ways of thinking and using this knowledge. Maya that Bhagwan Ji has created, वो किसकी शक्ति है? भगवान जी की शक्ति है. It is Bhagwan Ji's power. There is no way that you can defeat Maya and overpower Maya through anything you can do. You are part of that Maya. If I am part of that Maya, how can I overpower Maya? Cannot. Forget about it. That is why when we in our ego think, I will conquer this fear. I will conquer this demon. I will do this. It is not going to happen. You may think you have controlled it in one situation. It will come out again and show its face in a second situation, and a third situation, or fourth situation. You'll realize that you actually haven't really tackled it at the root level. You've tackled its one manifestation, but nothing more than that. And there are so many manifestations, so many demonic manifestations. There is no way for us to control and have full. 2 KLM3, we keep saying, right? 2 KLM3, Krodh, Kam, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. Right? These are the major demons that we need to control. This is that cloud that covers our antahkaran and takes us away or prevents us from seeing the light within. To think that I can control it or I can overpower it is foolishness. It is Bhagwan Ji's Maya. You have to surrender yourself to him. You have to take his help to be able to go past it. You know, long time ago, we had done this example where we said that for a, Maya ka jo jal hai, when that Maya's jal is thrown outside, the only fish that does not get caught in that jal is the one that is at the feet of the fisherman. All other fish get caught in that Maya jal. So Maya can be Yog Maya or it can be a Maya jal. You can get caught in that Maya and stay in this forever, or you can use the same Maya as a tool to get to him. The choice, that free will is ours. Use the Maya as Yog Maya for Yog only to connect to him, or use it for Bhog and get converted in and get caught in that Maya jal. So are you using every VVGP for Yog or for Bhog? Is our free will, not the gross level actions. The bhav of Yog versus the bhav of Bhog. The bhav of what's in it for me, which is Bhog, or what is my seva, which is Yog. How do you approach every VVGP? As a form of your seva with gratefulness, or with what is it in it for me, which comes from fear, which comes from krodh, which comes from lobh, which comes from moh. Which bhav you're using to interact with every VVGP. That is our free will. And our questions have to move from, and once we start understanding this gyan, right? Once the gyan starts to seep in, they will move us from Vyaktitva, our internal journey inside ourselves, the questions we ask ourselves, the Nidhi Dhyasan we do after the Manan, that will move us from Vyaktitva to Astitva. Vyaktitva is about my individual personality, right? From Vyaktitva of my individual personality and body consciousness, it will move me towards the Krishna consciousness, which is who I really am. Astitva. What is my Astitva? Who am I really? And what is really going on here? Right? So we move from Vyaktitva, body consciousness, to Astitva, asking the right questions of who I really am and what is this VVGP meant for me? What is my seva here? What am I supposed to discover about myself here? What knots am I supposed to open here? Every VVGP should inspire those questions rather than asking why is that person doing this and how can I categorize him in my, buckets of categorizations. Instead of using that to judge other people, I ask what is it in it for me to learn from and what is my seva in this situation. Make sense? Yeah, Kakuli.
You said something about Akshar Brahma consciousness. What is the difference between Krishna consciousness and Akshar Brahma consciousness?
It's a very theoretical answer because for me also it's only at an intellectual level, right? And I'll give that to you. But that I don't
For
think
me,
we'll
it's
be able
not
to,
even at intellectual level. Just समझ में नहीं आता.
we won't be able to go past that, right? So Akshar Brahma consciousness is the real him. It is limitless completely. It is formless, beginningless, endless. That is Akshar Brahma, Nirguna Nirakar. And then he projects himself into these individualized selves, the smaller selves. That is your Krishna consciousness, where Krishna has projected himself into so many different souls. But being able to understand that we are all the same, that he pervades everything, and yet my job in this world is separate and Kakoli's job is separate. Kakoli does her duty, I do my duty, and we are all doing our duties to create this beautiful panorama of Leela that is his, for his pleasure alone. When we are at that level, we are at Krishna consciousness. At that stage, you have transcended that 2 KLM 3 flight. Correct? But so you know that you are part of him. You're fully aware of you being part of him. But you are still doing your own duty, and so you're aware of the wrapper around you. But you're not caught in that wrapper. That wrapper is not your identity. Your identity is that of Bhagwanji. That is the difference. Yeah, Visalakshi.
So the Krishna consciousness is still in the body because it's a gunas, right? The Krishna consciousness is gunas is feeling like a body, what you feeling is gunas is how we are, the fear, everything is gunas, right? So it's still in the body consciousness. It's not okay.
No.
So that's a
You
hold
are
on
able-
to it because we have a whole chapter where we will talk about gunas.
Yeah.
And that flow of that chapter will really help you understand what gunas are and how they make up Maya.
Yes, but just to quickly answer your question, if you're in Krishna consciousness, you see your consciousness cannot be trapped by your body, right? You may, like Akshar Brahma takes on the gunas in the right situation, in the right way to be able to do what needs to be done in this Maya, right? So at Krishna consciousness, you're not trapped by a particular body. You are choosing to take on a body to do certain duty in this world, to play your part in Bhagwanji's Leela, but your consciousness is not attached to any of those. Your sense of self is not this body, whatever you've taken on. Your sense of self is not the things around you, the VVGPs around you. You're not deriving your sense of self from how I look, what I wear, whose mother I am, what I do, what roles I perform in this society, or who are my parents, or which is the community I walk around in. None of those, right? You're way beyond that. You understand that all of these are only tools in my journey. And my sense of self is him and him alone, right? So you are tapped into Bhagwanji's energy. You are vibrating at that frequency, which is Om, which is Bhagwanji's frequency.
Okay.
Your frequency is not a lower frequency anymore.
Thank you.
So I'll give you one example. Actually, not
Yeah,
sure.
one moment. See, all the Sant Mahatma, no, realized saints, they are in Krishna consciousness. You may see them in their body forms, but that doesn't mean that they have anything to do with that body. They took on that body form for certain activity. They are in the Krishna consciousness level. Yoganand Paramahansa, he took on a body. He's guided by those gunas, of course, because he has taken this Bhagwanji ki Maya hai. It says that a body will be born, a body will die. But his consciousness is Krishna consciousness.
Thank you.
So, okay, I'll give you the example because once you'll this will be a, actually not, let's skip it because you'll then explain something.
ठीक है. I think
Correct.
20th is a bit too big, right?
No, let's do takeaways. It always takes us 20 minutes. Guys, let's do takeaways.
And since Visa Lakshi's hand is still up, so Visa Lakshi, take the honors of starting the takeaways.
uh, uh, my takeaways today is like a self realization. It's our like how we like it's a take a situation, like it's not, it's a personal thing, it's we have to take a like a situation, and how we can perceive that situation is very important through the antakaran. So how you cleanse yourself, and like how you handle the every situation or every part of the life. Yeah, it's all within you, like how you react showing the problem. Actually, it's a problem is outside, but it's a projector, how you said, right? It's like a projector, it's showing outside, so it's within you. So how you cleanse inside, so the problem it's all maybe on its own or through you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very good takeaway.
Slightly put in a different way, while external setup remains unaltered, the internal vision leads to that environment of perception and realize the self. So nothing need to change you, the clothes, lifestyle, whatever it is, still we how we are perceiving, um, uh, how we are going towards the Krishna consciousness. That's the takeaway, key takeaway.
Beautiful.
So my takeaway is what Tuhina said, that about the cave and the sun, where like basically even when the situation looks negative or not in my favor, what I am missing out is seeing the light there, or seeing why Bhagwanji gave me this situation. So that's something which I like when you were speaking to Hina, like it sounded so good, is to understand that every situation is just when I'm not feeling good about it, is because I'm missing out seeing why that was given to me. And basically, which means I have to cleanse my internal bhav to realize why that VVGP has come to me, and realize him through that. That was my first thing. And then the way you all explained about the goal and what is the choice we have to make, and then accepting it finally, to and also the practice points around that, to finally merge into him or go a bit closer to him in this lifetime. So that left an impact on me. Yeah. Thank you.
Realize him, not get closer to him. We can realize him in one lifetime.
But this is too short time left to maybe realize him.
It happens like this, like this. It's an
Okay.
instant. The light switches on. There's no time lag between light switching on and darkness going away. Realization is like that. And the way to reach him is not through hundreds of years of like actions.
Toil.
Right? There's no toil required there. What is required is here. That change of surrender, the devotion, the acceptance, the faith, the complete unwavering faith in Bhagwanji, which is what we don't always have, which is what you need to develop. अच्छा हुआ तो भगवान जी is being my friend. नहीं अच्छा हुआ तो immediately ये क्यों किया? Right? Our faith wavers again and again. Something difficult happens and then we are like, I'm not sure if Bhagwan ji is really doing this, or like he's helping me or whatever. That unwavering faith is what we need to move away from. Our faith has to be unshakable in every situation. Once that happens, then your realization will come very fast, because then that is a state of complete surrender and acceptance and gratitude.
Can I ask a question around this? I don't know whether I'll be able to frame it. Is it okay to be a good human being and to practice these points and still and get moksha? Or you need to really, know the mantras, and the chanting has to be so good? Why I'm asking is because you know, because of the ashram, you are in various groups and people speak like they are so good at the, you know, at every like the Guft Navratri is going on. They're so on it, like they know the mantras and all. And that is where I feel that my journey has begun. And maybe I have a few more lifetimes to master it before. That is why, you know, I thought so. And maybe that's the question asking y'all. Is it okay to be really try to be there the way he wants you to be, to give away your all your negativities, or you also need to master every mantra, every japa, to all that has to, that's an additional out there, or that's very ritualistic?
There are people for whom the journey is through those mantras. They absolutely have to do it. I don't know if that journey is for you or not.
Okay.
That only you have to tell.
Okay.
But ek baar Narad ji had asked Vishnu ji, who is your favorite bhakt? Who is your favorite devotee? And he had pointed him to a garib farmer, right? You know that story.
Yeah, yeah.
So you know that Bhagwanji is not looking at whether you're doing your mantras or not. These are all very gross level things. What he's watching is your antakaran, your bhav, and your surrender to him, which is only at the level of bhav. And of course, when you change your bhav, your actions are going to be different. Make no mistake, right? Your actions for the same VVGP are going to be different. Your priorities in your life will change, right? So, whether that bhav change leads to an action which is, you know, ratifying all 700 shlokas of Gita, or whether it transforms into something else, I don't know. That's your journey. But Bhagwanji is not looking at gross actions. So, mantras or no mantras, mantras are very useful as one of the crutches, one of the several 100,000 different crutches that Bhagwanji has given us to walk our own path. And he has given us so many 100,000 crutches, not because all of us have to do all those crutches, but because all of us in our different VVGPs on our different paths require different tool sets to do what is required of us. A mountaineer will use different tools for his journey versus a carpenter versus an electrician.
So I'll give you an example, right? You have so many different types of cars. Each car gives a different mileage. Now, each car is designed slightly differently. So there are some people whose minds will take to a mantra and their mileage might be slightly lower or slightly higher, right? Than the car that we are riding. But the car will only move forward if you press the accelerator. And pressing the accelerator means the bhav with which you tackle every action. So you could have a car with excellent mileage, but if you're not bringing it into an interaction with BVGP, your car will not move forward. It doesn't matter, right?
True.
So it's the bhav that with which we tackle action is what moves the car forward.
And as some of the others, elders in our parivar say, कि हर एक चीज का ना एक वो होता है, level होता है, right? Somebody who's very tamasic, for that tamasic person, they always say you have to first conquer tamas. So there's a lot of rajasic activities that are given to that person. A lot of activities. You have to do this, 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 right? Then that person becomes rajasic. Then your job is to actually take out activities from him. Right now, you can't say two different people and then go like, oh, am I supposed to do an activity or am I supposed to remove activity? Am I supposed to sit alone or am I supposed to do bhajan? It depends on where you are in your journey. है ना? Focus on the bhav, focus on your VVGPs, focus on your duties in every situation. And as your antakaran gets cleansed, you will know when to accelerate, when to stop. But know that both of them are part of the journey.
And this is why satsang becomes very important. You may be a car with lower mileage, but I'm a car with low mileage. My wife is a car with high mileage, right? But the conversation, because we're in that satsang, it allows me to learn so much from her. And it allows us to learn from each one of us. as we go through our journey, as we go through our experiences, something comes very easily to Kakoli, might not come as easily to Vijay. Having that satsang, having that conversation allows all of us to learn together, which is why this journey is, while we implement it alone, it is always recommended to do in satsangs. That is when we get the true benefit.
And everyone has their charge, right? Everyone as a part of the seva, we bring our charge to the satsang. And when we bring that charge to others, everybody benefits. Jaise ki if you do mantra chanting, since we are on that topic, when you do mantra chanting alone versus when you do in a group where everyone does that chanting together, the vibrations are much higher. It's the same concept in a satsang. That is why takeaways and giving our energy to the group is so important, because it collectively takes everybody higher. Digressed a little bit, but hopefully you got something out of that, Kakuli.
Hopefully you got out the different cars have different mileage.
Same thing, right? Like whether it is good or bad, we'll have to work on ourselves. So whether it is a dictator or a saint, right? You don't have to look on others. You'll have to look on yourself and do what you are supposed to do. And you don't have to change anything, but keep working on yourself. That's a part that came out today really well and sound.
True.
Excellent. Next.
I'll go.
And
Oh.
then
Yeah. So I think two things that stood out for me. One is, this whole thing that you all said that, the change has to be internal, and the choice is, it's a conscious choice, that we have to take. It's not like, the choice is completely ours, and therefore nothing needs to change around us. So, the acceptance of, whatever we are born with, the situations around us, it will all help us realize our goal. It's just that acceptance of that and walking towards that path, and in the process surrender completely to him, have that unwavering faith. Of course there will be things that might pull us back and stuff, but to have that faith that he will see us through, he will pull us through. I think that's very important. And then approach every VVGP that comes in life as from so move from hope to you. I mean, understand, it's not about what do I gain from that experience, but more about what should be my seva, or what is it that I need to do, why has that experience come to me, and therefore what is my role, what is my job, and how do I do that. I think as long as so I think in the net it's all about surrendering and having that complete faith and believing that no matter what, he'll see us through.
language is a very important indicator of our antakaran. Very important indicator. Watch the words we use very carefully. And we have to make a conscious effort now. Don't be unconscious about it any longer, right? We're in the last shatak. We can't be unconscious about our words. So we've been talking about how every VVGP moves us forward. So now as an example, Sanchita, you talked about your takeaway where it was all about Bhagwanji and unwavering faith, and it will move us forward. But you don't believe it in yourself. And how do I know it? Is because you used a word like, sometimes even if a situation puts us back, why will it put us back? Why did you use that word? That's how conscious you have to become. Why will it take you back? What do you mean by it will take you back? It will never take you back. No situation is ever designed to take us back. Situations are only designed to take us forward. But we perceive them as taking us backward because maybe in a materialistic sense, something is being taken away from me. Maybe a project has been taken away from me. Maybe I have been demoted, so a certain position has been taken away from me. Maybe my span of control in my office has been reduced. Maybe I need to move to a smaller house. Maybe I need to move to a location which will not be as convenient for me or my children, right? All of those things, even though materialistically it may seem as if like this is a step down from the life I am used to, does not mean that it is taking me backwards. It is not taking me backwards. Who am I? Astitva versus Vyaktitva. My personality versus who I really am. Every situation, like, know that life is rigged in our favor at every moment. It is rigged in our favor to move us only in one direction. It's a one directional street to move me forward. The worst I can do is get stuck. I cannot really, I mean, yes, you can go down as well if you go, there is a slippery slope to heaven, to hell. But that is that's a choice that I make. I can choose to go down the slippery slope of hell through the 2 KLM3 flight. But Bhagwanji in every situation designs the VVGP to help us move forward and forward and forward. And sometimes he will make external situations very difficult when I'm moving in the wrong direction. So if I keep moving in the wrong direction, you have to go there. So Bhagwanji will create a sluggishness in the situation so that you stop moving. This is wrong for you. At some point of time, you'll come to a complete grinding halt. You'll keep moving forward in your ego. Keep moving forward. You'll keep putting effort until at some point of time, you will come to a grinding halt. And then you will look around and see, okay, now I can't go any further on this road. What else is there for me? What else can I do? What are the new other roads that are opening up for me? Then you will see another road open up, and then you'll start to come here, which will then help you get back to the highway that you were supposed to go on. So every situation that Bhagwanji designs that is not in your control, know that it is moving you forward only. What puts us back is our own choices. And what will also take us forward faster is our own choices. But Bhagwanji is the ultimate benefactor. When we fully understand that and we fully start to consciously make the effort of identifying ourselves with the capital S self, then our language will change. These small things. I'm saying this not because you point out, Sanchita, it's for all of us. We all use these words. We all say it all the time. So we have to become conscious of the words we choose to describe VVGP around us. How we describe other people, how we talk about other people, how we tackle situations, what we say when we describe situations or events or circumstances. Right? So language is a very obvious way for us to know how I'm changing, what my internal state of being is. It is reflected through the words. Make sense? Thank you. Naina?
So, yeah. My takeaway was how Gyan and Bhakti go together, and how to achieve that. Bhakti, you have to go back to the means of perceptions, right? That's how you're going to live this. So that is mainly the takeaway for today. And most of the questions which came up in the class, I didn't even realize I had them. So it was quite interesting to, okay, I was, yeah, this is what I should have thought about, but it just came, and it was it was interesting. And those questions brought some takeaways too, like what Bhagyashree asked about the prarabdh, and how how you explain that all the prarabdh will burn away once your knots are completely gone. So that was one. And then Vijay's question about the negativity in the world, how you look at it. That was, yes, we cannot comprehend it at this level. So we have to just do what we can do and get within ourselves. And that would be my takeaway.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one add-on to just mention. So if there is something that we feel irritated about or irked about by any time, it repeats itself until we accept it 100%, right? Like once you, then it will become, it no longer irritates you, or it never happens, or you are okay even if it is happening. So what I tried implementing and working really well is like once you start accepting wholeheartedly. So this is you will be able to start focusing more on yourself inside, right? So that's the additional point. Maybe will be good for others too.
Absolutely. Which is why we keep asking questions. The more questions we ask, we are all Arjuns, right? Arjuns on our journey. So every question that we ask, that question is in the minds of everyone else, like Naina said. Whether they have expressed it or not, or sometimes, like Naina said, don't even realize it until that question is asked. So, and the same thing about takeaways, the same thing about sharing our experiences, same thing about sharing how we tried to implement a certain principle and how it failed or how it worked, right? All of these help all of us in our journeys. We all learn from each other. Nobody is ahead or behind. We are all on our separate journeys. And Sanchita would have made for much higher progress on one aspect, whereas I would have made a higher progress on another aspect, and I can help her and she can help me, and then Kakuli can help, all of us help each other, right? Right now, Kavita is not in the class. While she thinks that I am telling her something or I'm being her facilitator in this class, she has become my guru for yoga. I started to like take her guidance because she's very, very far along in that journey of hers, which I am like not even a starting point at, right? So she's my guru and teaching me yoga now, right? So we all learn from each other at different points of time. And that's how we contribute. That's our seva to the world. Hai na? And thank you everyone for joining us.
Closing shlokas.
Closing shlokas. Closing shlokas is Sanchita.
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ पूर्णमदा पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमदाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ ॐ ॐ
Thank you everyone.
Narayan, Narayan.
Narayan, Narayan.
Narayan.
Narayan, Narayan.
Thank you, Narayan.